Hello then, welcome to the World News and Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachuku and these are the top stories. Presidency refutes media reports on Interior Minister summon. Articles 8, Frank Shaibu discloses better edge suspension not enough. Tinubu slashes travel expenses of all government officials by 60%, reduces security delegation. And EFCC arrests Zenith Peridas Jai CEOs over involvement in Better Edu Sadiya Umar Farouk alleged fraud. Details now. The world news begins with the presidency refuting media reports that President Bola Tinubu summoned the Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo for questioning at the presidential villa in Abuja. You would recall that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs is set to have given a consultancy contract to the tune of 438 million naira for the National Social Register to New Planet Projects Limited, a company the Interior Minister is linked to. The Interior Minister had come under fire for alleged involvement in a 438.1 million consultancy contract from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. VOP News gathered that Tunji-Ojo has since left the presidential villa after a meeting with President Tinubu, but was silent about the purpose of the visit. According to Vanguard, an online newspaper, a presidency source has denied media reports that the minister was summoned over the scandal. The source said, and I quote, "We are too intelligent to be stupid." It is understood that the company New Planet Project Limited was one of the numerous consultants awarded contracts from 3 billion naira given out by the suspended minister for the National Social Register contract. In a document posted, Point Blank News, Jackson Ude, Tunji-Ojo's New Planet Project Limited was initially paid 279 million naira for verification of the list and another 159 million naira for the same purpose. However, in a television appearance on Monday, the minister refuted being a director in the company, stressing that he resigned years ago from the company. Meanwhile, former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar's Special Assistant in Public Communication, Frank Shaibu, has stated that the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Better Edu, is commendable, but not enough. You'll recall that Better Edu was suspended by President Bola Tinubu after a leaked memo showed that she ordered the transfer of 585.2 million naira into the private bank account of a civil servant who is the accountant in charge of grants for vulnerable Nigerians. He said, and I read, "While Tinubu deserves commendation for suspending Edu, we believe that this is a belated move. First, he had no business appointing her as a minister of such a sensitive ministry in the first place. Tinubu put politics ahead of competence, hence this scandal. What experience did Better have in the development sector? How was Iman Ibrahim, with her wealth of experience, overlooked? How did the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, stand as Better Edu's referee during her clearance at the Senate?" End quote. Shaibu also drew the attention of the public to other leaks which show that the ministry under Edu's watch gave a company owned by the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, a total amount of 438.1 million naira for consultancy services. Elsewhere, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has slashed his travel expenditure on all government officials in his administration by 60%. Presidential spokesman Durin Galali made this known to State House correspondents today at the presidential villa Abuja. Galali asserted that the decision, which will affect office of the President, Vice President, First Lady, Ministers and heads of agencies, were part of the cost-cutting measures of the presidency. He said the slash consequently means that the President is limited 20 number of staff outside the country. He said, and I quote, "Tinubu has directed that all state entourages be drastically reduced. This is not a request. It is a directive. The office of the President and staff will be affected. VP appointees are also affected by this directive. there will be a slashing of expenditure on official travel by 60%. Ngulali also said every minister is limited to having just 4 members of staff on any foreign trip, while heads of agencies are limited to just 2. He said Tinubu has also said that he will no longer travel with huge security delegations to any state in the country. The presidential spokesman also added that if the president travels to any state, the security in the state will take care of his security, and the same applies to the vice president and other top government officials. Also, the CEOs of Zenith, Peridas, and Jais banks have been apprehended by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in connection with financial misappropriation and fraud linked to disgraced Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, and her predecessor, Sadiya Umar Farouk. The banking executives, who have been under stealth scrutiny since the public outcry over the unscrupulous diversion of public funds into private accounts, are now in EFCC custody, multiple credible sources within the presidency disclosed today. The anti-graft agency is presently probing numerous instances of substantial public funds directed into private accounts on actions sanctioned by Ms. Edu and Farouk using their position as ministers. Ms. Farouk, who oversaw the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development under the previous administration, is also under investigation for the mismanagement of at least 37 billion naira in public funds designated for the Conditional Cash Transfer Program of then-President Muhammadu Buhari. The large-scale movement of funds into private accounts was partly facilitated by a potential deliberate oversight in flagging suspicious transactions, a responsibility banks bear under various anti-financial crime laws and central bank directives. The banks did not immediately respond. However, the EFCC spokesman Dele Oyewole sidestepped inquiry into the matter. Meanwhile, Ms. Edu has disclosed that her hands are clean and she is committed to fighting corruption amid the uproar over her illegal request to wire funds into a private account. However, via a Facebook post she addressed to NPAR beneficiaries, Ms. Edu said, and I quote, "I want to assure you all to remain calm and steadfast amidst the recent accusations and suspension I am facing. My heart and hands are clean and I am committed to fighting corruption." She also added, "It is essential to be aware that some individuals with impure intentions may use government machineries against you. Stay strong and together we will navigate through these challenges." There have been several financial corruption investigations since President Bola Tinubu assumed power, resulting in the detention of prominent figures like the former CBN Governor Gordon Emefiele and EFCC Chair Abdurrashid Bawa. Now, to talk about this and more issues on the world news at 6, I actually have via the telephone a political and social affairs commentator, and that is Mr. Darlington. Mr. Darlington, how are you? Good evening.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you for staying with me. Please, is the line clear? Can you hear me properly?
Hello?
I said, is the line very clear? Can you hear me properly? Because I can hear you loud and clear. So
yeah, he's manageable. He's breaking out. Go ahead. I can pick things.
Okay, I sincerely apologize. Let us start off with the president slashing travel expenses with ministers, including his wife, also the vice president, as well as some members of staff. Now, he said when he travels, he will only travel with about 20 persons as his entourage. Do you think this is stemming from the public outcry and, point of fingers to him when he traveled for COP28 and the amount of money that was spent on that trip, where he traveled with about 1,114 persons, both official and unofficial?
I can say it is 2 things. One, if you ask me, Tinubu have not realized that there is no money for profligacy.
Okay.
There is no money in our treasury. That is one of the reasons why he is now becoming more frugal with spending. Then 2, the public outcry, especially on social media and critical media. These are the 2 things that inform this decision. If not, he wouldn't have bothered. After all, if he actually meant he should have started from the beginning. You saw how he was behaving, telling us that the trip to Dubai was justified because of the size of Nigeria. Is it the size of your economic buoyancy that we are talking about? When he made that statement, what was he thinking? He had just realized that there is no money. Esther, that is the major reason. So he's looking for a way to cut costs. That is just because all the things they promise you, even the budget may be in jeopardy because I don't see how they can finance that budget because there is no money. So he's not looking inward, looking for a way to cut costs. There is no other reason. If the money is still there, he won't even listen to anybody. Because I have an issue. Tinubu is not a technocrat. He doesn't know how to manage funds. That is the truth.
Well, wouldn't you call this a very good development? It's obvious that the president actually listens to the people. Other critics have actually said that compared to his predecessor, former President Muhammadu Buhari, he exhibited an aura, all right, or you would call it a countenance of this nonchalancy. His mannerism seemed so laid back. So he necessarily did not listen to people. He did not pay attention to what was being said. He just acted sometimes obtuse. So don't you think that this is a good development, that the president indeed has decided to become firm?
Tinubu is not in a position to behave like Buhari.
Okay.
He is not. He can't even try it because Nigerians will, in fact, his own party, they will be angry with him. He is not in a position. Remember what played out during the election and all that. Tinubu has more packages than Buhari. So it will be in his best interest to please Nigerians. Because you cannot eat your cake and have it. Tinubu will be struggling to please everybody. Based on how he came into office. He cannot come into office the way he came in and start becoming draconian. It cannot work. That means he's calling for trouble.
Can you recall during the supplementary budget the amount of money that was allocated to the office of the First Lady, the National Assembly complex, the president as well? Well, a lot of Nigerians have complained that it is that money he's meant to slash and not necessarily cutting down on the staff or the expenditure of the staff attached to any of the high-profile members within his cabinet. Would you agree with that as well?
That what?
I said, would you agree? You recall the supplementary budget, right? And the amount of money that is allocated to the office of the First Lady, the National Assembly complex, the office of the Aso Rock Villa too, even the animals within the Aso Rock Villa were given allocated amounts of monies that are quite huge. Now, the critics believe, based on how the presidency has reacted in terms of cutting down the staff, they feel shouldn't he start off by cutting down the expenditure within his administration rather than reducing the staff. But according to also a couple of people too, they feel this is just a diversion. Necessarily that there is an amount of money allocated.
The budget has not been signed. We are yet to see whether the First Lady will buy those vehicles. Whether there will be money for such extravagant expenses. That is what I'm looking at. He cannot come out and say that he has removed it. The worst he can do, we start from low-hanging fruit. These ones now that are happening, these are things he can take immediate action. But the budget is something that is futuristic. Okay. The money has not started coming in, so we don't know whether he will implement it or not. But I don't think he will go through that route because there's no money for such things.
All right, Mr. Darlington.
Whether he like it or not, he must cut down. That is what I see.
Ever since this Better Edu expose, because we're talking about it because we are having developments come up. She has told her supporters on Facebook to be calm. She has told her supporters to just wait up and say that there are persons, all right, corrupt machineries who are trying to stifle the progressive measures she has put in place. Others feel that the presidency just did this to placate the people so they think he's listening to them. Others also think that EFCC's investigation may not turn out as Nigerians expect it to. But other people feel that the president indeed understands the plight of the people and he's working in tandem with what the people are asking him to do. So my question to you eventually is this, Barrister Darlington, is if the president has directed that all state entourages be drastically reduced, what about the fact that a lot of persons feel his image cannot be redeemed by this effort, that the entire certificate forgery debacle will continue to be a stain on his administration? Are you of that same line of thought as well?
Please, let me hear that question again.
The certificate forgery scandal. A lot of people feel that certificate forgery scandal will continue to be a stain on his administration. No matter how he tries to possibly create a sense of balance or objectivity or neutrality, whichever way we want to look at it, it would not stick because the certificate forgery scandal has remained unresolved. He has refused to address it, so Nigerians may not trust whatever motive he puts out there. Do you think this could be the case?
He can reinvent himself if he can give Nigerians good governance.
Okay.
Nigerians are too forgetful. They may forget his sins. So after all, God said we should forgive. If Buhari can give us Tinubu can give us excellent administration, excellent governance, I am telling you, people like us, we may not even bother with the past career and what he did.
Okay, so don't you think he's already given us that kind of governance? For example, he has suspended Beta Edu, the EFCC has invited her for questioning, and others that were involved, all the persons involved in that scenario, the Minister of Interior as well. So don't you think he has already commenced in terms of rebranding himself or rebranding his image?
It's too early to give him applause. So.
Okay.
Esther,
Mr. Darlington, let me ask you.
What are we applauding him for?
What is your parameter?
If I remember that some of the things he has done is what came out in the public domain. Okay. I want to see a Tinubu, even on his own, take action on something that the public are not aware of.
All right.
Yes. After all, he has so many internal mechanisms to detect a fraud, to look at those who have not been up to these things. Like Bala Usman, that idea, who is the coordinator of his policy. The woman he can even use that woman as a detective in all the ministries. Let her tell him who is doing what, so that on his own he can take action that the public are not aware of. I cannot applaud him if we have said about something and the thing become too odious, too non-fitting, and then he not take action. That means we are the ones driving the administration.
Now,
let's see for the show to take action on certain things. Then we cannot say, okay, yes, he's doing something. Now, somebody like Buhari,
okay,
let him do something about it.
All right, Mr. Darlington, others feel that the stealing just started, that women are the ones leading a misappropriation and breach of rules. And let me take you back memory lane. I don't know if you recall Farida Waziri, former EFCC chair. You recall that she was a front for the chief of the secretary to the state, secretary to the government of the federation, George Akume. If you recall that imbroglio at the time, you also remember Alison Madweke, former aviation minister Stella Udua, now Halima Shehu, as well as Sadia Umar Farouk, and now Beta Edu. So there seems to be a historical thread with this woman, and you would think that this woman would try as much as possible to be different when it comes to corruption, when it comes to accountability, when it comes to neutrality and objectivity, but that is not the case. So do you think that this time around the stealing is just starting with the president's administration? Are we expected to see more of this in this administration?
It is because they have known APC government as a corrupt government. Like from Buhari, if these people have shown leadership, none of their subordinates will touch our couple. They will be afraid to do that. Because they are seeing what the people at the top are doing. That's why their subordinates are doing whatever they like. So if they can change the narrative, and start sacking people at the flimsiest excuse, everybody will sit up. Then why they are sitting up? You, who is at the helm of affairs, your hands must be clean, because every kobo that any governor or president have stolen from office, there are civil servants facilitating it for him.
Okay.
They cannot on their own steal money. So these people that are helping you to steal this money, they are looking at what you are doing, and it will even embolden them to help themselves too. That was what happened between Emefiele and Buhari.
All right.
So if you want to be honest, then be honest and let it be seen that you are honest. That is it. That's the only way. But if you continue to steal money and think that your subordinate will be honest, it is impossible. Practically impossible. That is hypocrisy.
All right,
you are promoting double standards. They might not even take you serious.
We're running out of time. Okay, let me ask you this. Apparently, the Labour Party has described the exit of Doyin Okupe, who was former Director General of the Peter Obi Datti Presidential Campaign Organization, from the party as a political harlot and opportunist. The Labour Party described Okupe's exit as not surprising, saying, in a true character of traditional politicians, he moves from one place to another. He was in the PDP, from PDP to APC and the Labour Party, and they're not surprised if he goes back to his vomit and embrace either APC or PDP all over again. Now, I don't know if you recall how Doyin Okupe had to stand down from him being the Director General of the Obi Datti Campaign Organization. I don't know if you recall at the time, they said it was because he hadn't paid his dues and that he was owing a lot of money. So do you think that was one of the reasons maybe he expected that Peter Obi or Datti could have exempted him from having to pay out those funds? What do you think could have led him to stepping down? And what exactly is his next political move, being the fact that there are accusations on him as being a political harlot?
Please, that question again.
Doyin Okupe, he's been described by the Labour Party as a political harlot. And I asked a question, I said, that could it be because of the fact that he was owing a huge amount of money, and the Obi Datti Campaign Organization at the time, when the Labour Party was rife in terms of support and all, he had to step down because they said to maintain a sense of objectivity and neutrality, he couldn't maintain that position while he was owing a lot of money. Was he expecting to be exempted and remain as a campaign DG? Could that be why he has stepped down from the Labour Party and saying the party no longer meets up to his objectives in politics?
At what point did Doyin Okupe begin become an ideology? Doyin Okupe have no ideology, so telling us that he left because of which ideology? Didn't he know of Labour Party before he came in? This is a man who misused money, and his party in Ogun State suspended him. That was the beginning of his problem. He thought that Peter Obi will cover him, use his status as the presidential candidate and say, okay, let them leave him. He thought that Peter Obi could have done that for him. So when he did not get any help from Peter Obi, that was what discouraged him. And I tell you, what we need are people, honest politicians. That is the only way Nigeria can move forward. People like Doyin Okupe and all these other political prostitutes, we don't need them in Labour Party. We have suffered enough because of this political prostitution. Let us have a party that Nigerians can look up and say, whether rain or shine, we are standing by you.
Okay.
That is how P2B will become the president of this country. So anybody thinking that you come to Labour Party and their money will... No. Look, most people, most who were developed Western countries, they thrive on integrity of their leaders. How much does Obama have when he run for president? How much? But they are looking at the man's integrity. That is what we don't have any in Nigeria. So people should represent that integrity. Anybody around him who came for money, he will not succeed. His own structure is the Nigerian people. So anybody coming there to look for money, you will not get it. You will not get it. Let them be eating this Nigerian money. When they get tired, they will look for somebody who will do the job.
All right, Mr. Darlington, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time in helping to analyze the world news and a couple of other issues that we're able to break down from your perspective. I sincerely do appreciate you.
Thank you, my dear.
You're welcome. All right, to wrap up the world news at 6 here again are the top stories. You had the presidency refutes media reports on Interior Minister Saman. Articles 8, Frank Shaibu discloses better edu suspension not enough. Tinubu slashes travel expenses of all government officials by 60%, reduces security delegation. And AFCC arrests Zenith Peridas Jayi CEOs over involvement in better edu Sadia Umar Farouk alleged fraud. That's a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. A new dawn, a new story from the station that keeps you informed. Breaking news, fresh from the scene.
We have a lot all over the country who have been